everybody. Welcome and good morning. I'm Kim Davis. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm super excited that you have joined me today. It is Thanksgiving week, and before we talk about anything happening in the sports world, or even I let you hear from our sponsors, I just want to tell you an early happy Thanksgiving and to say that I am grateful not only to be here, but I'm thankful and grateful for all of you for tuning in and for continuing to support this work. I appreciate you. If you didn't show up every week, even those of you who watch the replay, I'd just be talking to myself. So thank you for that. I'm thankful for just life and breath. I'm thankful for my family and friends, colleagues, clients, and of course, all of you. So if you are listening to the show live or if you're listening to the replay, make sure that you drop something in the chat about what you're thankful for this week, because sometimes we can get so caught up and so many other things that we forget about what's really most important. Okay, so as we jump into today's show, I want to first start and tell you today's show is being brought to you by the World Youth Foundation. We are partnering on some exciting work that you're going to hear more about. I told you about it a little bit last week, and I'll have more to share with you over the next couple of weeks. They are participating and partnering with the African American Male Wellness Agency. It's an organization out of Ohio that has been doing some work around African American male wellness. They do an annual walk, and the walk is not just about that day. So the walk in Houston is coming to Houston. It'll be here April 15th of 2023. It's the inaugural walk. Mayor Sylvester Turner has agreed to be an honorary co-chair. So it's not just about the walk. That's important. You're going to hear about it and how you can get involved, but it's all of the other things leading up to the walk. It's the conversations around total health for African American men. It is about screenings and prevention and all sorts of things. And so I am really excited to be partnering with them from a sponsorship standpoint and also for a volunteer standpoint to help them spread the word and to have some great conversations. We're going to have conversations throughout from now until April and then even beyond when we're talking about African American male wellness. It's important. And when you hear some of the statistics, it's staggering. So I just wanted to start the show with that. Of course, we always have our longtime partner, I Love Jinka. It is that time of year where some of you may be getting the sniffles, a little stopped up. You want to kind of shore up your immune system for you and maybe for your kiddos, for your entire family. Well, if you listen to this show for any amount of time, you've heard about Jinka. I Love Jinka. It is a turmeric paste, powder, or veggie capsule. And if you're in the greater Houston area, you can just go into pretty much most HEBs and get it out of the healthy living section. I'm super excited that I Love Jinka was featured on ABC 13 here in Houston on yesterday as a part of the Local-ish segment, franchise, if you will, which probably means they'll air it again on the weekend. If you didn't see it, go back and check it out, because you'll get to know even more than what you hear me talk about here on this show about Kim and LJ Williams, the founder, about the product, about the process, and just really what they have begun to build. So here is a little bit more about I Love Jinka.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at that Jinka sale. Look at that.
So that's where you find it, and that is they're grooming the person who's going to be running I Love Jinka, Ray Macy. So definitely go by HEB, and if you're not local to the greater Houston area, go online to ilovejinka.com and order your Jinka today. Also, it is that time of year. Actually, it's always a time of year for Kimmy treats, right? It's your popcorn. It's vegan. Or just say it's really clean. For those of you who go, Kim, what the heck is vegan popcorn? Well, it's popcorn it's non-GMO. It's made with coconut oil. And when you get the package, because when you order it, you'll see a label. What's on that label is all that's in it. So it's made fresh, and it's a great gift. It's got some shelf life. So you've got about 4 weeks shelf life where it's still fresh and you can be proud of it. It won't go bad, but it may not. If you get it and order it and ship it to friends, or order it to be shipped to friends or colleagues or clients, it's a great gift And it's also just great to have at home. So go online to KimmyTreats.com and order your Kimmy Treats today. Uh-oh. And that product at the end, well, that is the organic hand-whipped body butter. You will not be disappointed. It is great for just making your skin feel amazing. It's great for your feet. And people who've had eczema, I don't have eczema, but I've talked to a number of people who said, it's helped my eczema. So you can order all of that online today at KimmyTreats.com. All right, we're going to jump into the show. We'll let you hear from a couple other partners a little later. But listen. So the Texans are now 1-8-1 after losing at home to the Commanders at NRG Stadium on Sunday. It was not their finest hour. Second play from scrimmage for the Texans, there was a pick six by Davis Mills. And they just never really got back on track. There was a late touchdown scored, kind of a, game's kind of over where Davis Mills did run one in. So the score was probably not as indicative of how badly they looked on Sunday. That's just being honest. The final was 23-10. The Commanders won 23-10. And yes, the Commanders did just come off beating the only undefeated team in the league prior to last Monday in the Philadelphia Eagles. With that being said, it was just not a great outing for the Houston Texans. And so what happens after the game is there's access to obviously the head coach and players. And so I've heard from many of you about an exchange that took place in post-game with Head Coach Lovie Smith and a reporter from the Chronicle. So I've had many of you ask me about it. And so I want to talk about it, but I wanted to let you hear it and see it so that we can talk about it in full context. The first thing I'm going to show you is a clip from when Lovie first walks into the press conference. Here's the protocol, okay, in post game. So because those press conferences go out on the radio, we are asked to wait for the microphone. So you raise your hand, they bring you the mic, you ask your question. As you'll see on Sunday, and this is not the player from the Chronicle that you heard. This is reporter. This is another reporter that kind of jumps in once Lovie makes his opening statement. So I'm going to start with that, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
We had some disappointing losses this year where, we fought and had a chance to win. And not many games I don't think we've been in this year where, they were better than us pretty much from start to finish. I thought defensively we did some good things early on in the first half. Offensively, when you start off, the first drive like that, that's tough duty. They dominated, their defense dominated us up front, and it's pretty hard to get a running game going. It's hard to pass the football, when it's that much pressure, and again, the takeaways. Normally those games aren't that close when you play like that. Our fans deserve a lot more than that. We had to put a better product on the football field, and we'll kind of keep working towards that. Some of your questions, did you consider changes? We're trying to do what we thought we needed to do to give us the best chance to win throughout. Take your question.
So this year, you guys have scored under 18 points in the majority of games, and a lot of that does start with the quarterback. So will there be any consideration towards changing the quarterback position?
You're asking me, am I going to change the quarterback position right after the game? Does that work? As I said, we consider all different things during the course of the game on whether making a move at any position will give us a better chance. But when you say it starts with the quarterback, no, it starts up front is where it starts. And today, with that type of pressure, I don't know how many quarterbacks could have had success.
Did you consider bringing in Kyle Allen today?
We consider all guys that are dressed if they will give us a better chance during the course of the game. If we made a move, we thought that was the way we should go. If we didn't, that's where it is.
Is there any chance you're going to eventually make that change this
You,
week?
I'm going to watch the video is what I'm going to do. We're going to evaluate it like we normally do. We don't make those kind of decisions 30 minutes after the game. No. Before I get a chance to talk to all the coaches, no. And I think most of you know that.
And I will tell you this one thing is definitely true. Most of us do know that. You know, those of us who cover the team every week, we know that Lovie Smith is not going to make that kind of decision, on game day or right afterwards before talking with his coaches or talking with his players. So that's how it started. And so here are my thoughts about that, because you may not have heard that exchange. I am fine with tough questions. I think reporters should ask tough questions. But the way it should work is you ask a question and you've got to, and then here's the answer. There's this back and forth. Are you asking the same question 3 different ways? Like, what is, to me, that's the part where it goes a little bit beyond, right? You've asked a question. It's been asked every week. And I'm not saying the question shouldn't be asked. So for those of you who say, Kim, this team is just not good, the quarterback situation is horrible, you guys should ask about it. It is asked by someone every week. So, it's not about asking the question. It's about what happens after you ask the question, right? So that's how the press conference opened up, with this particular reporter just jumping in like, I'm gonna get it today. I'm not waiting for the microphone and my turn, and forget about the rest of you who are here and have things to say. Yeah, so that's how it started. And so then the exchange that many of you heard are seeing either on social media. You heard if you listened to postgame on Sports Radio 610. You may have seen it on TV stations. We saw it nationally on ESPN. And so I want, in case you haven't seen it, before we talk about it and I share my thoughts about it, I wanted to show it to you here. So this is the exchange that many of you saw.
The fans deserve better. I mean, I look out at the stands, they're mostly empty. You guys were booed multiple times. This has been happening all year.
No, let me stop there. It hasn't been happening all year. You can say, well, I'm talking about the fans booing us, all right?
You guys have been booed.
Yeah, we've been booed, yes. And every time something is bad, fans are going to boo, and they have a right to do that. What is your question?
I was going to ask a question.
What is it?
How does this get better? How do you improve this? You're
By putting a better
quarterback.
By putting a better product on the football field.
Why didn't that happen today?
Because I didn't think I should do it today.
Why were you guys not better today?
I'm not going to tell you that, all right? I mean, what do you expect me to say right now? We just got beat. Now, if there was something that we should have done right away, we would have done that right away. Where we are with our football team, we're searching for answers is what we're doing. And we'll keep working on different combinations.
Right, but we come in, and every week you're kind of telling us the same thing. You haven't made any changes. Why keep doing the same thing if you get the same result?
Because sometimes change for what? Just change to change? I think leave that up to us, all right? Right now we don't think we're in that position, all right?
So that was the exchange that many of you saw that has made national news. And so I have a few thoughts about it. You listen to Chalk Talk. Thank you for being a part of today's show. I welcome your feedback and your questions and comments if you are watching live. And if you're watching the replay, drop them, because I'll go back in the replay and answer your questions as well. So listen, first of all, that particular reporter, Brian Smith, columnist from the Chronicle, that's kind of what he does. And I thought he went a little too far. You can ask, because as you saw the frustration from Lovie Smith, it is, what is your question? Because you're telling us we get booed, fans aren't happy, we're 1-8-1. If you don't think Lovie Smith knows that they were 1-8-1 after that game, I don't know what to tell you. So your question is, are they going to make changes at quarterback? You keep doing the same thing, expecting a different answer. I don't know that that's what a reporter's responsibility or role should be. But hey, listen, you handle it the way you should. I thought I thought it was a little disrespectful. It's not because it's a tough question. That's not the issue. Ask your difficult question, and the head coach has to deal with it, right? But that, I'm going to tell you how awful you are before I get to your question. And so, yeah, Lovie was probably a little, a tad defensive. I'll say it. And I don't think starting that way helped in terms of what the reporter did. And I think the reporter crossed the line. And here's some things that I asked myself, or that I thought about after the press conference. Did you have that same energy with previous coaches, like a Bill O'Brien? He might have had a little bit of it, not quite to that degree. Do you have that same kind of energy when you talk to Nick Caserio, who's the general manager, the architect of this team, since the Texans finally moved on from the Bill O'Brien era to whatever degree they did? I mean, they moved on from him, but they are still very much have a Patriots philosophy woven into what they do. And if the answer is not definitely yes, then there's a problem. And so for me, that's kind of where the problem starts, right? I need you to have that same energy. So I know that tomorrow morning, Nick Caserio, the general manager, will be on the partner station, Sports Radio 610, and they will ask him a little something, but they won't push him. They will not. Nick Caserio has assembled this team. The talent or lack thereof that exists, this is his second season. Granted, he inherited a mess. They were in cap hell. They didn't have draft picks. They had a full draft last year. Some of the young players are looking pretty well. What he's done with free agency, I think, is still very much up. It's very much a wait and see. Some of it hasn't been great, but there doesn't seem to be any energy around that. Those are some of the challenges that I have with what we see. So going on with this kind of line of thinking, so the next day, which was Monday, we go in for the day after. And so, Lovie was asked, what he wants to see from Davis Mills, right? Because the thought is, from people who cover the team, and listen, I'm going to separate fans from media, real journalists, because media is not all the same. And I don't say that with any kind of sense of elitism. I'm just telling you, right? So I understand fans are fans, and they may not know or see all the things, even those who are really locked into every radio show and they watch it online. There's some stuff that fans may not really be as privy to or really understand. Those of us who have a different level of access, we should act accordingly, right? So here is Lovie talking about, on Monday, what he wants to see from Davis Mills.
What more are you hoping to see from Davis Mills? What is your guy going for?
Production. What I want to see first is Davis Mills in front with protection, with a good running game backing him up, and with protection when he's passing the football. That's what we need to see first. So all of this is a base part of it all. It's just not one position. And guys, after game, I'm going to believe it or not, I'm going to talk to the guy. If there is something that we're going to do, I'm going to talk to the guys first at all positions. But right now, there's disappointment throughout. It just wasn't two positions that we're talking about.
Okay, so I misspoke. That was also after the game. That was still on Sunday after the game in that same press conference. And so he said a couple of things that were takeaways from me. I'm not going to come in here and tell you all I'm making a change when I haven't had a conversation with coaches or players. I'm not going to do that. I'm fine with that. And right after the game, while there's stuff that you saw standing there, right, that we saw that we said, oh my gosh, this looks really bad, right? This is tough to watch. But how, to be able to really then take a deeper dive to say, hey, I'm going to go look at tape, I don't have a problem with that. People will say, well, Kim, man, we're 1-7-1 coming into that game. What else did you have to see? I just think that a coach has a responsibility to look at it differently than those of us who may be fans watching at home, or even those of us in the media. There's a different level of responsibility to make when it comes to making decisions. And who if you are in the audience, if you are listening and you're a person who thought, man, they should be doing more because they don't look good. Let's be clear. I'm not making any excuses for them. Who among you thought with this roster that this team was headed to postseason? Or that this team, I don't think we thought they'd be 1-8-1, but what did you think this roster was going to give you? I'm just curious. You know what I'm saying? I would really like to know that, because I wonder sometimes what the expectation is. Is it effort? They didn't look great on Sunday. Like, I'm making no excuses about the fact that was a hard game to watch. I was there, trust me. But there still needs to be a level of respect and decorum in what we do. So you heard Coach Smith let me talk a lot about pressure. You know, Davis was pressured all day. Davis, I was going to pull up the final stats, right? Davis, yeah, it wasn't a great. I'm just looking at the game book, because it was not his finest hour. And he struggled pretty much all season. I mean, he had a good first half against Philadelphia. You know, there have been some times when, you know, he has looked better than others. So let me go to. So Davis Mills, he completed 19 of 33 passes for 169 yards. He ended up with a 46.1 passer rating. Let's go to how many sacks did he have? He was pressured really all day, and he was sacked 5 times. Sacked 5 times. He threw 2 interceptions. One was a pick 6. It's tough to win, right? Like that. And I want to go to the first half, because that was really... So in the first half, he completed 6 of 9 passes for 22 yards. That was in the first half. In the first half, the Texans had 5 total net yards. So I'm saying that to say I'm not making any excuses for what this team, how they played and how they looked. It wasn't pretty, right? It was not a pretty sight at all. This is Davis. I asked him about, so we know that there was a lot of pressure, right? He was pressured all day, but so we know that the offensive line didn't have its greatest outing, and Kenyon Green, the rookie first-round pick out of Texas A&M, the interior lineman, offensive guard, he really, I think at one point I tweeted, it looked like he was just being hazed. It was a tough day for him. He's faced some all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber defensive ends like over the past 3 or 4 games. He has just not had a break, but it's how you learn, right? It's how you learn. And they didn't have the luxury, this Texan team, of letting him come along slowly. So I asked Davis Mills, what can you do to handle the pressure better? This is still also after the game. Here's Davis Mills.
Hey Davis, I know that there was a lot of defensive pressure up front today. In situations like that, is there anything that you can do differently to help give yourself more time or to get out of some of those jams?
Yeah, I mean, we want to continue to sit back in the pocket when I can, find as much as I can down the field or check it down, and then if the pocket collapses too much, find scramble lanes to push up in the pocket or escape on the edge and make a play. And I mean, I tried to do that a couple times today. We had a couple penalties on different situations, and then other times they had everything covered, and they ended up getting to me. So I want to continue to eliminate that and find ways to make plays.
So that's Davis, because I what can you do? So that's his answer. So then we go through that. There's Sunday night. Now the press conference has become the story. And let me also say this. I was always taught as a journalist, you tell the story, you don't become a part of the story. And I understand that in this current day of social media and more of the, hey, look at me, I'm on TV, that's what I call it, the talent first driven scenarios. And I get that. And I could actually, quite frankly, probably do a better job at that. but I also kind of stay true to my training and the way I came up in the business and what I believe about these roles and responsibilities, right? And I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to move on and let you hear from Lovie yesterday, and then we're going to end up, I'm going to take your questions, and we're going to then talk some basketball. So, you always, journalism was journalism, right? These positions were protected in the Constitution. Now, I know that may seem like, what? Because this is where the public would get information. You know, I don't know that now they all are, because now it's a whole, the landscape's very different, but I'm talking about how this started. You know, these opportunities, whether you're talking about politics or the local economy, or, you know, national elections or school boards, you know, like sports, all of these things were part of the public sphere, if you will, but they're also protected in terms of the people telling the stories, the jobs, because it was thought that they were created to provide information, not so much entertainment. That is probably the thing that's changed the most. You can be entertaining. I hope that I'm entertaining from time to time, but I hope that what you really find is that I'm giving you really good information, right? And that there's a level of education that you walk away with. Well, maybe I didn't know that, or okay, or maybe I understand that better now, or just to provide a perspective. And so that is what it's supposed to be, but it, as you see, has evolved to a lot more. So yesterday we have the day after press conference. Nothing's really changed other than Lovie and his staff have had a chance to really go through the tape. It's a day off for the players. So here's Lovie yesterday when he met with us day after the game.
Like we normally do, we have been watching the video since then. The players aren't in today, so they'll come in tomorrow. We'll kind of let them know what we're going to do going forward. Take your question.
Have you, after a day of watching the film, have you decided to make any changes in coaching or quarterbacks or any of that?
You know, as I said, the players come in tomorrow. So have I watched the video a few different times? Yeah, and made some decisions on how we're going to go forward. But you can probably understand, if, like all changes and anything that we do from week to week, you kind of talk to the players first before we talk to you. So we're not pleased with where we are. And do we need to do some things differently? Yes, and we will.
So that's Lovie yesterday. And again, will he make changes? Will there be a change of quarterback? We don't know yet. There's some who suspect after yesterday that that's what he was saying. And there was one particular reporter that were named nameless who said, well, why didn't he just say it? I mean, everybody knows it. Well, this particular reporter has he's connected in the organization, so maybe he knows it. Maybe Nick told him. I don't know. But I can respect the fact that you don't want to make a public announcement because it makes people in the media feel better without having conversations with players or coaches. I just think I'm putting on my leadership hat now. I think that's what leadership looks like. And that's what leaders have to do. And that's what leaders should do in terms of how they communicate what happens. And then he was asked a question about making changes by Brian Bearfield. This is Lovie on yesterday.
Make a change, a player change. Are you the one that makes are you the sole decision on it, or do you have to consult with Nick Caserio as well?
No, I mean, Nick handles an awful lot for our group, but we as coaches kind of take care of those things. And if there's a change going on, player-wise, our process, I'm going to talk to the position coach, I'm going to talk to the coordinator, and normally the three of us will. If there's any major decisions that are being done, we'll let everybody, of course, Nick and everybody else will know, of course. Cal and everybody else will know exactly what we're doing. We're communicating constantly with what we're doing with our football team.
So I wanted you to hear that and make your own decision about what you heard in that response. And I'm gonna let you hear one last clip from Lovie and take your questions before I tell you what I feel like I heard. So here's Lovie talking about Thanksgiving because AD asked him, say, hey, this is AD asking, with all of this aside, what about Thanksgiving for you?
Yes, sir.
Week of Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for?
What am I thankful for? I mean, there's so many things. When you're a 64-year-old guy that's been just kind of hanging around as long as I have with a family that you love, that's been blessed beyond your wildest imagination. What I get a chance to do for a living. There are so many things. I think one thing to be thankful for, to just be here, to be thankful for something. And so that's what it is. Thanksgiving is a special time, special week. Just looking forward to making it to that Thanksgiving and enjoying another day.
Well, what sort of stress does Waddle and Hill, what do they put on their defense on second?
So much for that Thanksgiving and all the good things that we're thinking about coming up. Special players.
And I just thought it was kind of a cool, he talks about being thankful in the next question, which is fair. The Texans go on the road and face the Miami Dolphins this coming week in Miami, and they face a dynamic pair of receivers in Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And so he went on to talk about that. They were challenged this past week. They were without Derek Stingley, their starting cornerback. He has a hamstring injury, and those soft tissue injuries are really tough to know, when you can get back. So they hope sooner than later, but they will just have to wait and see. But that was kind of an update, if you will, on what's happening around the Houston Texans. Hey, Tony, my friend who loves baseball, he says Dombrowski got a 3-year extension for losing the World Series. Listen, he also says Dombrowski's team also disappointed in the regular season, only winning 87 games and barely sneaking in. I get you on that, but in fairness, they had some injury, right? They were banged up a bit, and I think as long as you get in, you get in. But you make a good point. He was rewarded with a 3-year extension, and there are some who say, well, he's younger, so of course you would give him 3 years, and you wouldn't give Dusty 3. You would just kind of do Dusty on a wait and see, which is really how his existence has been here with the Houston Astros. But they think they do things different in Philly, and although they lost, I think it's clear they lost to a better Astro team, and so that front office said, hey, you guys did some good stuff, and we want you to come back. Hello, Don Payne. It's always great to have you in the house. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and to my friend Carolyn out west. Happy Thanksgiving, Carolyn. Hey, Cleve, do you think the Texans don't care about losing because they want to get a quarterback in the draft? I think that, I don't know if that's Nick's position, and I hear that a lot. Just keep losing until you get the top pick. I believe there's a culture you have to start develop, and I know we've heard this term culture a bit, and we've heard the term culture a bit, right, as it relates to this organization. But winning is a culture. And at some point, it's not just a switch you flip on. So I'm not a proponent of let's tank to get the number 1 pick, because then what are you going to do when you get it? So to answer your question, I don't know if that's Nick Caserio's position, but remember, this Texans team they've got 2 first-round picks, right? They've got the capital that they had from the Deshaun Watson trade. So you shouldn't have to intentionally lose games in order to get a high draft pick. You've got some draft capital that you should be able to go out and get you a quarterback if in fact that's what you're going to do. I don't believe coaches tank. I think front offices might like to tank, and they may pull certain levers that cause a team to not play as well. But I don't believe coaches tank, and I definitely don't think that's Lovie Smith. But in terms of, and when you say Texans, do I think that the front office wants? I'm not really sure. I don't think that's smart. I'm totally against it. I know people who say, let's just keep going and just lose them all, but I think it's very difficult. And then you have these young players who are going to be a part of your future. do you not try to win with them to get them headed in the right direction? So I'm against tanking. I'm not a Texan. Obviously, I don't get to make those decisions. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure. I would not be surprised if if the answer is split. Tony says Davis Mills is at least better than Zach Wilson. Everybody keeps saying that. Do you really think? And I don't watch enough of the Jets to be able to answer that. But is Davis Mills really better than Zach Wilson? I heard the guy DJ, the first person that you heard if you've been listening to the whole show, who kept asking Lovie the same question over and over 3 different ways. Are you going to change your quarterback? He came here. It's his first year covering the Texans. He covered the Jets. And that's what he said. We were sitting waiting for Lovie to come in the press conference. He said, well, Davis Mills is Zach Wilson. So I was just surprised to hear that. And Carolyn says, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. I appreciate you. And I, of course, appreciate you being a part of the show. You are listening to Chalk Talk. I'm going to take a quick break and let you hear from a couple of our sponsors, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit of basketball. It's about this Houston Texans team as they get ready to go face a very explosive Miami Dolphin team, right? A Dolphin team that is leading the AFC-East. Let's talk about it. You know, Tua is playing really well. Lovie said he's probably a better athlete than people give him credit for. That wide receiver tandem is lethal in Waddle and Hill. And so hopefully Derek Stingley Jr. is back this week, although, you know, the Steve Nelson on one side and was Desmond King on the other. You know, they did a pretty good job of handling the receivers from the Commanders, but those receivers from the Dolphins are next level. They are next level. So want to remind you also about I Love Jinka. As I mentioned earlier, I Love Jinka was featured on Localist, ABC 13 Localist. If you are in the Houston area, I think anywhere you are, you can go online and pull it up. It's a great story. It'll give you more of the background and information about about I Love Jinka, why it started, how they produce it, and just really what they're building, which is way beyond Jinka. You know, I think you would really find it interesting. But Jinka is a product that you can get. It's great for inflammation. The main ingredient is turmeric, which is helps reduce inflammation, which is really kind of the root of most illnesses. And so if you would like to get Jinka, if you want to use it in some of your holiday cooking, you want to put it in your eggnog or make your lattes with it, or if you just want the powder or the veggie capsules, you can get it. If you're in the Houston area, you can get it at HEB. Here's where you find it. If you're not, you can order it online at ilovejinka.com.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yep. Look at that Jinka sale. Look at that Jinka.
So what you saw was the paste and the veggie capsules, and those are in the healthy living sections in HEB stores, soon to be launched with the military. And as soon as that happens, I'll have Kim or LJ come on and tell you all about it for those of you who are active duty or who are veterans, where you'll have access to the product as well. Also, don't forget about Kimmy Treats. So be sure to visit KimmyTreats.com. Order your popcorn. You will not be sorry. Some of you have asked. We are launching a subscription box for the holidays after the 1st of December. So I'm excited about that. You can just stay. I'll post it, but also it'll be online. You can order your Kimmy Treats now. Order them. Have them to snack around the house. Start getting them. It's a great gift that you can send to colleagues, friends, or family. And if you just want to have some good popcorn and chill at home, it's a great thing for your Netflix and chill moments. All right. I told you last week, the last couple of weeks, I've told you about Le Monde Catering with Chef Reggie. They launched a line of seasonings, and they are really pushing those out more this year. They're offering different different recipes, ways that you can use it. The seasonings are clean, they're gourmet seasonings. And if you'll hear something when you hear me talk about food or products or things that we talk about, things that I use or things that I make, being clean without a lot of, preservatives or filters in it is very important to me. And so that's one of the things that's exciting about these seasonings. And if you are interested, you can go to lemondkitchen.com. But also, here's a look at the Chef Reggie using these spices for one of his recipes to make salmon. Go to lemondkitchen.com. You'll find the seasonings, but you'll also find other products that they make that you can that are already pre-made. Amazing. You will not be disappointed. All right, so let's jump and talk a little bit of basketball before we get out of here today. The Houston Rockets are 3-14. Not a great start, right? That's they're 3-14. But that team, you are what your record is. So I'm not going to argue that they're not really 3-14. They are 3-14, but I tell you, they look much better than most nights than than what you'd expect a 3-14 team to look like. They're super young, and you may say, "Well, Kim, last year you told us they were young," and they continue to be young. They've got what? Let me see. How many players do they have under 21? 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. Is it 7 or 8 players? Aren't even 21 yet. KPJ, maybe he's older than that. Is he 25? But they're young. And my point is, you just can't really coach experience. This team played the Golden State Warriors Sunday night. So after I went to the Texans game, came home and let Angel out, and then I went to check out the Rockets in Golden State. Golden State, of course, are the reigning champions. They were 0-8 on the road, but they are still Golden State. And the final was 127-120. Golden State won that game. But this Rockets team, Golden State came out of the chute like Klay Thompson was unstoppable. I think he had 18 points in the first half. I will tell you that the Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, finished with 74 points between them. Klay Thompson had 41 points and Klay had 33 points. Andrew Wiggins had 22. I'm just telling you, they were shooting lights out. Klay had been trying to really get his shot. He found it Sunday night, and he did not let it go. But after being down his 18 points in the first half, this Houston Rockets team did fight back. At one point, they tied, and they took a brief lead. The lead, there were 8 lead changes. The Rockets' biggest lead was 9 points. Kind of felt like that probably would not be sustainable, because even when they were making their run coming back, Stephen Curry hadn't really started making the crux of his points, his shots. And so you're like, man, you come back, you're up by 18, and Steph didn't have any points at that moment, and then they made their run. So they shot 53.5% from the field. They shot 51% from 3. It's tough to win like that. It really is tough to win games like that. The Rockets shot 45% and 33% from 3. They took 45 three-pointers. Golden State took 47. And then on the boards, in terms of rebounds, the Rockets did out-rebound them 45-40. Jabari Smith Jr. was really good. It was one of his better starts. Kevin Porter Jr. was back after being out, nursing that back injury. He had 30 points. And Tyree Eason, the rookie, had 19 points off the bench. He was 8 of 14 from the field. He had 8 rebounds and 3 steals. So he was very active, and what you got from the rookies was really quite impressive with Jabari and also with Tyree Eason. I did a show on Channel 11 before the season started, and we were talking about the Rockets and who's the most important person going to be in this coming up. And so the other 2 guys said Jabari Smith Jr., which I get. I mean, Jabari Smith is super important. But I said Tyree Eason, and maybe not that he's the most important, but I thought he was going to be significant in terms of what he brings to this team. And I still think that he is just really, really, he's always around the ball. He's like always where he's supposed to be. Here is Coach Silas after the game talking about how the 2 rookies played.
Very valuable. Played a great team. We got down big and fought back. We took the lead. We were neck and neck down the stretch, and they had to make some great shots to beat us. We have to learn discipline when it comes to some of the switching things and whatnot. But this is a team that's been together for years and won championships and all that, and we should definitely be proud. And like you said, it's disappointing that we didn't get the win for sure, but nobody in that locker room should have their head down.
Yeah, nobody in that locker room should have their head down. And that's not the, oh my gosh, the moral victories. It is what it is. I hope Steven Silas gets to coach this team when they get to the next phase. Perhaps this offseason they bring in a mid-level free agent, another veteran. You've got Eric Gordon as a veteran right now. He started on Sunday night. He's been starting. He started in place of KBJ when he was out on Friday. He started in place of Jayshawn Tate. They miss Jayshawn Tate, and they miss his size, and they miss his strength and his ability in terms of what he does at the 4. And so hopefully he's been in a boot, so I don't know when he's coming back, but hopefully they get him back soon. Here is Jabari Smith Jr. after the game, just talking about the outing that they had and really some of what they learned.
Just kind of went into the game with a free mindset, you know what I'm saying? Just going out there and competing against Steph and just competing against those guys, just enjoying it, you know what I'm saying? Taking in the moment and just playing free.
Is there anything you learned from playing a team like that, the defending champions, a dynasty like that? Or
just how up and down the game is. You can be out of it once. You could be down 20, then back up 10. You could be up by 20, and then come back. Like the game's just so up and down. Like with so many great players and so many people who can get high on them. It's just a game of runs.
The stuff they run is unique, and the pace at which they run it. Is there value in seeing it to the first time for you and Ty?
Yeah, definitely. Just how fast they play, how you got to be ready right when the ball goes through the net. Got to cut out the celebrations and just they're coming at you all game. The pace doesn't change. So.
That's Jabari Smith Jr. and here is Tyree Eason.
Tonight I try to really, bring a different mentality to the game and just try to, get myself going defensively first, before anything. And I think that mindset really helped, for sure.
You did seem a little fired up in numerous moments. And why was that? Why the extra energy tonight, or extra passion, so to speak?
It's been a first rookie year, ups and downs of the season. Necessarily, I haven't been playing, to the level I think that I'm capable of in a couple few games. So I just, felt like today was the perfect opportunity to just shake back.
I'm sorry. Tari, when you guys got down big early, did you say something to yourselves? What was it that you guys did to kind of kick that up a notch?
I just told the second group when we come in, we got to come in with, an energy. We got to, pick up, where the first team left off, regardless if, maybe if they're down or up, whatever the case is. When that second unit comes in, we have to, come in and be the energy people.
How would you evaluate your first month or so?
All right, so that was Tyree Eason after the game on Sunday night. They have a few days off, which is rare. Listen, this team started, it's like the most brutal start that I've seen, right? They were on the road for most of the first month. I'm just pulling up their schedule. I was like, why would the NBA give them this kind of schedule? Not that they should give them be nice because they're rookies. Because they have so many young players. But in the first, so they had 2 home games out of the first 7, 8, 9, 10. They had 3 home games out of the first 10. Then they had a much more favorable November, right? They were home, away. Then they're home for a couple. They're home for 4. This is like their biggest stretch at home. They play again on Friday night. They play Atlanta at the Toyota Center, and then they play Oklahoma City on Saturday night before they head on to the road all of next week. So it was a brutal start for a very young team. I think that they're coming along. They look good. They're getting there, but they're young. And there's something about it. So you just got to hang in there with them, guys. You just got to hold on and not give up quite yet. Hey, Roy, he said, thanks, my friend. We have a great future. We need more time to develop, and the future looks bright for us. What do you think of Mark Jackson as a possible coach, or do you think his time has come and gone? You mean as a possible coach for this team or any team? I will say, I don't understand why Mark Jackson hasn't gotten another shot. I don't think his time should have come and gone. I just don't quite understand why he never got another shot. That's disappointing. He does a good job as a broadcaster, but I thought he did a good job as a coach. And whatever mistakes he made that led to him being let go or fired at Golden State, it wasn't like he did something that was reprehensible. You know what I mean? So I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know why he hasn't gotten another shot. I think he's deserving of one, and I hope he gets it, because I thought he was a really good coach. Tony says, I wonder why DJ left the New York beat. Much better visibility there than here with a bland team in Texas. I don't know, unless he left to come to the brand. He writes for ESPN.com. And, the last couple of people that worked for ESPN.com took some pretty big jumps. So, I don't know. Maybe he didn't like New York, or, I think he's originally from Miami or somewhere in Florida. So, I'm not really sure. I'll have to ask him when I see him at practice tomorrow. He said The Athletic doesn't even have a Texans beat writer. As Aaron Reese left, probably his articles weren't generating any traction. Yep. Not really sure. I know The Athletic, especially when they were kind of merged or bought out, that they did get rid of. And I think Aaron may be doing something on the editing side, but it's interesting. It's a crazy business. And so, okay, I'm not sure what that is. Something about free girls chat you in the city. Not sure what that is. At any rate, listen, we are out of time for today. Before we go, ended on just a happy note, right? I wanted to clean that sometimes you kind of clean your timeline, you refreshen it, and so I wanted to leave it with something from Dusty, right? It's from his press conference. Was it last week or the week before that they announced that Dusty would be coming back for another season? And here's Dusty talking about toothpicks. He's kind of known for his toothpicks. Here's Dusty when he's asked a question about his toothpicks.
I'm so famous, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame now.
Well, I don't know, man. Some people ask for some used one. I don't know what they're going to do. And I know my agent a few years ago contacted them to see if I could get a toothpick endorsement. They told me they don't need me to sell toothpicks because they're going to sell them anyway. So I was very humble.
Don't you just love Dusty, right? He said, listen, I was very humble. I don't know who the people are that want to use toothpicks either, Dusty, but that's crazy. Hey, everybody, listen, thank you so much for being a part of Chalk Talk. Remember a few things. Be sure to support our sponsors. Pay attention. You're going to hear much more about the World Youth Foundation and the African American Male Wellness Walk. It's coming up April 15th. Mark your calendars. But we're going to talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that we want to make sure that not only black men, but the people who love and support black men understand and know about the challenges they face in the space of being healthy and that's going to be in terms of physically healthy, mentally healthy, financially healthy. It's a whole wellness piece, and I'm excited to bring those conversations to Chalk Talk because it's important, right? And it really matters. Also, make sure that you support Jinka at ilovejinka.com. Go check out lemondkitchen.com, and be sure you go to kimmytreats.com and get your popcorn. I'm going to put a dressing on the site in a couple weeks. I just haven't added it to kimmytreats.com. I'm going to add that and some other holiday treats. And don't forget about the body butter. Plus, listen everybody, if you've been watching the news, maybe you're burnt out and you don't know, so I'm going to share it with you. The flu is bad this year. They say it's going to be one of the worst flu seasons yet. RSV is bad. So just be as cautious as you can. If you have some health risk, talk to your physician. Make sure that you're getting the flu vaccine. And there's like a special vaccine you can get if you're like high risk. You have you're elderly, or you have some special conditions, health concerns. Ask your physician about it. Make sure that you're getting vaccinated. And if you haven't had the COVID vaccine or the boosters, I'm encouraging you to do that so that we can all meet back here week after week and have these fun conversations. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk Tribe. Please do share this show with whomever you are, whatever platform that you're viewing it on, and know that it becomes a podcast once we finish the streaming live version. So thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. Happy Thanksgiving. Make sure that you are taking a moment and just being grateful. And if it's nothing, if you're like, well, Kim, I have so much bad stuff going on, the fact that you can recognize you've got bad stuff going on means you're here to acknowledge it. Be grateful. So I am grateful. I'm grateful for you. Make it a great, great week. Remember, do something kind for yourself and something kind for somebody else. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.